should be ready, at least in their own individual capacities, to resist proprietors who would want paid news without norms of disclosure. You can have disclosure, you will have focus, you will have it in Outlook, you will have it in CNN, IBN, you will have it anywhere else. Vinod knows that the marketing people will ask for their 4 pages of pound of flesh. It's a question of a disclosure. Were they willing to do that? We got about 18 to 20 of the editors only answering and giving that pledge. A majority haven't done so. It's required the Election Commission to intervene in the case of Bihar and actually work out with the guild some attempts to try and put at least some sense of responsibility in people on ground zero. But most editors haven't done it. Most editors haven't responded to the pledge. So we could have a code of conduct and we could devise it. But are editors going to be willing to adhere to that code of conduct? Are they willing to actually go through the pressures? I mean, I found it astonishing that even in one of the magazines, one of the editors says, I didn't ask the journalist concerned because I felt there would be too much of pressure. An editor is an editor to resist all kinds of pressures. Otherwise, he or she should not be an editor. That's the bottom line. I think the real challenge is ethical. There are ethical challenges that we all face on a day-to-day basis. And those challenges are getting greater as the Radia Tapes show, because corporate India will do anything to subvert the system. These tapes are really about that. These tapes are about the subversion of parliamentary democracy and the possible co-option of journalists. I keep coming back to it. This glass is half full and half empty. If you see what journalists have done in the last 5 months, we have much to be proud of. Whether it's with CWG, whether it's with Adarsh, whether it's with 2G. And at this moment, for us to self-flagellate and look at, how terrible that these 2 journalists were talking to Neera Radia in this manner, how terrible that this suggests that we were a conspiracy to keep Radia. Do we seriously believe that Mr. Karunanidhi and Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh would decide that cabinet on the basis of journalistic conversations? Where is the skepticism that should have been there in those magazine articles? I'm sorry to say this, but the fact is that in the last two weeks, what I've seen is a lynch mob. And I wonder whether the vanity of the journalists and the anchors, which is there and which needs to be controlled, is matched by a certain envy and a certain lack of understanding of what is happening in our profession. Any reporter day to day will tell you the pressures under which he is, where ideological and political, and I will ask you which is worse. I think we've got to ask ourselves, corruption is of various kinds. It's not just financial corruption. There's corruption which is moral and ideological. And when newspapers and magazines blank out certain views, or when television channels believe in anti-national versus nationalistic, I think we should look at that as well. So I think a focused debate needs to look at all these issues rather than only single issues. That's all I'd like to say.